Listen to me carefully. Your emotions are powerful. They can build you or break you. They can push you forward or hold you hostage. And most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never learn how to control what they feel. They let anger speak before wisdom. They let fear decide before courage. They let doubt scream louder than belief. But you've got another choice. See, emotions are like fire. Fire can cook your food or burn your house down. The difference isn't the fire, it's the control. When life hits you with pressure, when someone disrespects you, when things don't go your way, your first reaction is emotional. That's human. But champions don't live by their first reaction. They live by their trained response. Anybody can stay calm when life is easy. Anybody can smile when everything is working out. But can you stay focused when everything falls apart? Can you stay disciplined when you're frustrated? Can you stay positive when negativity surrounds you? That's where greatness is born. That's where greatness is born, not in comfort, but in emotional control under pressure. Some of you lose opportunities not because you weren't ready, but because your emotions weren't ready. You walked away too soon. You spoke too fast. You quit too early. You doubted too quickly. You let temporary feelings make permanent decisions. And temporary emotions should never be trusted with permanent choices. You have to train your emotions like an athlete trains muscles. Every day you wake up, you practice patience, you practice gratitude, you practice discipline, because if you don't train your emotions will train you. And trust me, untrained emotions will sabotage your dreams faster than any enemy ever could. The strongest person in the room isn't the loudest. It isn't the toughest. It's the one who can feel everything and still stay in control. The one who can feel anger but choose peace. Feel fear but choose action. Feel pain but choose growth. That's power, real power. So when life tests you, and it will test you, don't react, respond, don't explode, execute, don't panic, prepare. Because once you master your emotions, nobody can manipulate you. Nobody can distract you, and nobody can stop you. And when you reach that level of control, you don't just win sometimes, you become unstoppable. Emotion is energy, and energy was never meant to be buried. Energy was never meant to be chained, locked away, or silenced. Energy was meant to move, meant to flow, meant to create impact. The problem is not that you feel too much. The problem is that nobody ever taught you how to use what you feel. You were told to hide it, told to swallow it, told to pretend it wasn't there. But suppressed emotion doesn't disappear. It waits, it builds. It grows in the dark until one day it explodes at the wrong time, in the wrong place, on the wrong person, costing you opportunities you prayed for. That's why you don't suppress emotion, you direct it. When frustration hits, that's energy. When anger rises, that's energy. When fear shows up, that's energy. Even sadness carries power inside it. Every emotion you feel is fuel, is dangerous only when it spills without control. Put in an engine though when it moves machines. Put in your purpose and it moves your life. The difference between destruction and progress is direction. The difference between chaos and greatness is control. Some people think strong means emotionless. They think strength is acting like nothing bothers you, nothing touches you, nothing hurts you. But that's not strength. That's suppression. Real strength is feeling everything and still choosing your response. Real strength is saying, yes, I feel this anger, but I will turn it into determination. Yes, I feel this fear, but I will turn it into preparation. Yes, I feel this pain, but I will turn it into power. Because emotions are signals, not commands. They are messengers, not masters, not mastered. Think about it. The same anger that makes one person fight in the streets makes another fight for their dreams. The same fear that makes one person quit makes another train harder. The same sadness that makes one person give up makes another create something beautiful. The emotion didn't change. The direction did. That means the power was never the problem. The management was. You don't win in life by shutting your emotions off. You win by harnessing it. You win by learning how to grab that fire inside your chest and point it towards something meaningful. When someone doubts you and you feel the heat rising, don't waste it arguing. Don't waste it proving them wrong with words. Use it to prove them wrong with results. Let that emotion become effort. Let it become focus. Let it become discipline. That's how you transform feelings into fuel. There will be days when your emotions feel louder than your goals. Days when frustration screams. Days when insecurity whispers. Days when disappointment sits heavy on your shoulder. In those moments, most people surrender to the feeling. They let the emotion drive the decision. But you can't let a temporary feeling decide a permanent direction. Feel it, yes. Acknowledge it, yes. But don't hand it the steering wheel. You are the driver. Your emotions are passengers. Directing emotion requires awareness. You have to notice what you feel before you can guide it. You have to pause long enough to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now and where can I send this energy? That pause is power. That pause is the space where transformation happens. Because reaction is automatic, but direction is intentional. Reaction is instinct, but direction is leadership. Leadership over your own mind. Every champion you admire mastered this skill. Not because they never felt fear, but because they learned how to use fear as a signal to prepare. Not because they never felt anger, but because they turned anger into intensity instead of destruction. Not because they never felt doubt, but because they used doubt as motivation to work harder. They didn't silence their emotions, they recruited them. Inside you right now is enough emotional energy to change your life. Enough passion to build something. Enough fire to push past your limits. Enough intensity to break through every wall standing in front of you. But if you don't direct it, that same energy will turn against you. It will become stress instead of strength, anxiety instead of action, rage instead of results. Energy is neutral until you aim it. You must become the architect of your inner world. You must decide where your emotions go instead of letting them run wild. When pressure comes, send your energy into focus. When criticism comes, send your energy into improvement. When obstacles come, send your energy into persistence. Don't waste emotional power on complaining, blaming, or doubting. Those are leaks. Those are holes in your tank. Seal them, and suddenly you have more drive than you ever imagined. Directing emotion is a discipline, not a talent. Nobody is born knowing how to do it. You learn it through practice. You learn it the first time you choose silence instead of shouting. The first time you choose patience instead of panic. The first time you choose effort instead of excuses. Every time you redirect emotion instead of releasing it recklessly, you get stronger. Every time you turn feeling into fuel, you get sharper. Every time you master your internal storm, you become more dangerous to your limitation. Understand this clearly. The goal is not to feel less. The goal is to use more, feel deeply, but move wisely. Let your emotions inform you, not control you. Let them energize you, not enslave you. Because once you learn how to channel what you feel, nothing inside you can sabotage you anymore. Your anger becomes drive. Your fear becomes alertness. Your sadness becomes reflection. Your excitement becomes momentum. Every emotion becomes an ally. One day it will click. One day you'll notice that the things that used to shake you no longer shake you. The situations that used to trigger you no longer control you. The feelings that used to overwhelm you now empower you. And in that moment, you'll realize something life-changing. Your emotions were never your enemy. They were raw power waiting for leadership. So don't bury what you feel. Don't run from it. Don't deny it. Stand in it, study it, then steer it. Because emotion is energy, and energy directed with purpose becomes force. Force applied consistently becomes progress. Progress repeated daily becomes transformation. And transformation is what happens when a person finally realizes that what they feel is not a weakness to hide, but a power to aim. Your first reaction is instinct, and instinct is fast, raw, and automatic. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't pause. It simply fires. Someone disrespects you and instinct says snap back. Something scares you and instinct says run. A challenge appears. An instinct says avoid it. That first reaction is ancient, wired into you for survival, not for success. It's the same internal alarm system that once protected humans from danger in the wild. But here's the truth most people never realize. What protects you in danger can sabotage you in growth. Because success isn't built on instinct, success is built on character. And character shows up in your second response. See, the first reaction is what you feel. The second reaction is what you choose. The first is emotion. The second is decision. The first belongs to your past conditioning. The second belongs to your present awareness. Anybody can react. That takes no discipline, no reflection, no strength. But responding with intention, responding with purpose, responding with clarity, that takes mastery. That takes control. That takes someone who understands that a moment of pause can change the direction of a lifetime. Think about how many problems in life come from first reactions, arguments that never needed to happen, opportunities lost because of impatience, relationships damaged because pride spoke faster than wisdom. Regret is often nothing more than a first reaction that was never corrected by a second thought. People say, that's just how I am, as if instinct is destiny. But who you are isn't defined by your first impulse. Who you are is defined by what you do after the impulse arrives. Your first reaction might be anger, but your second can be understanding. Your first reaction might be fear, but your second can be courage. Your first reaction might be doubt, but your second can be belief. That gap between the first and second reaction, that tiny space where your power lives. Most people never use it. They live their whole lives reacting instead of choosing. They let instinct drive while character sits in the passenger seat. And then they wonder why they keep ending up in places they never intended to go. Character is built in that pause. Not in the loud moments, not in the dramatic moments, but in the silent seconds when you decide who you're going to be. It's easy to say you're disciplined when nothing tempts you. It's easy to say you're patient when nothing tests you. It's easy to say you're strong when nothing challenges you. But when pressure hits and instinct screams, that's when truth shows up. That's when your second reaction reveals the real you. The world doesn't judge you by what you feel. Feelings are human. Feelings are natural. Feelings are automatic. The world judges you by what you do. Actions are chosen. Actions are directed. Actions are controlled. Two people can feel the same anger, the same fear, disappointment, and walk away with completely different outcomes. One reacts instantly and creates damage. The other pauses, thinks, and creates progress. Same emotion, different character. You have to train yourself to respect that pause, to honor it, to protect it. Because that pause is your filter. It's your shield against regret. It's your chance to ask yourself one powerful question. Is this reaction helping me become who I want to be? If the answer is no, you don't follow the instinct. You rewrite it, you redirect it, you replace it. That's not weakness. That's authority over yourself. The strongest individuals aren't the ones who never feel intense emotion. They're the ones who refuse to let emotion make their decision. They understand that instinct is loud but not always right. They understand that feelings can be real without being reliable. They understand that the first reaction is a suggestion, not a command. And because they understand that, they don't rush. They don't explode. They don't crumble. They pause. And in that pause, they choose their character over their impulse. This is where growth begins. Growth doesn't start when life gets easier. Growth starts when you get stronger than your instincts, when your automatic reaction says quit, but your chosen response says try again. When your automatic reaction says argue, but your chosen response says listen. When your automatic reaction says panic, but your chosen response says plan. That's evolution. That's transformation. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary, not by changing what they feel first, but by mastering what they do next. Your first reaction comes from habit, experience, and conditioning. Your second reaction comes from values, vision, and purpose. One is programmed. The other is intentional. One is quick. The other is powerful. And power will always outperform speed when it's guided by wisdom. Don't be ashamed of your first reaction. It's human. It's natural. It's part of being alive. But never let it be the final word. The final word belongs to your character. Imagine how different your life becomes when you live like that. Arguments turn into conversations. Pressure turns into performance. Obstacles turn into opportunities. Why? Because you stopped letting instinct write your story, and you started letting character hold the pen. You stopped reacting blindly, and you started responding deliberately. And once you reach that level of awareness, something shifts inside you. You realize that self-control isn't restriction. It's freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from impulsive mistakes. Freedom from being controlled by every emotion that passes through your mind. Every day will test this principle. Someone will push your buttons. Something will challenge your patience. Some situation will trigger your instincts. That's guaranteed. Life will always press on your automatic reactions. But each test is also an opportunity to prove that you're not a slave to impulse. An opportunity to prove that your character is stronger than your conditioning. an opportunity to prove that you are the one in charge. So the next time you feel that surge inside you, that instant wave of emotion rising fast and strong, don't fear it and don't follow it blindly. Notice it, name it, then pause. Because that pause is your battlefield and your character is your weapon. In that pause, you get to decide whether you will be ruled by instinct or by intention. In that pause, you get to choose growth over reaction, wisdom over impulse, purpose over pride. And when you keep choosing that second response, again and again, day after day, moment after moment, something powerful happens. Your instincts begin to change. Your habits begin to shift. Your mind begins to learn. What once triggered you no longer controls you. What once shook you no longer moves you. What once defeated you now develops you. Because character, practiced long enough, rewrites instinct itself. That is the secret most people never discover. They spend their lives trying to control the world around them, trying to control other people, trying to control circumstances, when the real power was always inside that tiny space between reaction and response. Master that space and you master yourself. Master yourself and you master your direction. And once you master your direction, nothing, not pressure, not criticism, not fear, not doubt can dictate your destiny. Temporary feelings are powerful, but they are not permanent truth. They rise fast, they feel intent, and they convince you that what you feel right now is what will always be. And that's the illusion. A feeling can scream so loudly inside your mind that it sounds like logic. It can feel so real that it seems permanent. But feelings are like weather. Storms can be violent. Thunder can shake the sky. Rain can pour so hard you can't see ahead, yet no storm lasts forever. The danger is not the storm. The danger is making a lifetime decision while you're standing in the middle of it. Think about how many lives have changed because of one emotional moment. One angry sentence that ended a relationship. One fearful decision that killed a dream. One insecure thought that stopped someone from stepping into their purpose. It wasn't years of failure that did the damage. It was a few minutes of emotion that were allowed to act like authority. Feelings are real, but they are not rulers. They are signals. And signals are meant to be read, not obeyed blindly. When you feel pain, your mind tells you to escape. When you feel fear, your mind tells you to hide. When you feel rejection, your mind tells you to quit. That's the natural response, but natural isn't always beneficial. Natural reactions are built for comfort, not growth. If you let every temporary feeling dictate your permanent choices, your life will be built on moods instead of meaning. One bad day will make you abandon a good path. One disappointment will make you doubt your destiny. One criticism will make you question your calling. You have to learn the discipline of delay. Delay your reaction. Delay your decision. Delay your conclusion. Give your emotions time to settle so your mind can see clearly. Because clarity never lives in chaos. When emotions are loud, wisdom whispers, and if you don't slow down, you won't hear it. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel overwhelmed. They are the ones who refuse to decide anything important while they are overwhelmed. They understand that a feeling is a moment, but a decision can be a lifetime. There will be times when you feel like giving up. Times when everything inside you is too hard, too heavy, too much. In those moments, your feelings will try to convince you that quitting is relief. They'll paint pictures of comfort. They'll promise peace if you just walk away. But what they don't show you is the regret waiting on the other side. Because temporary relief often creates permanent regret. And regret is heavier than pressure ever was. Feelings change faster than facts. Today you may feel tired, tomorrow you may feel strong. Today you may feel doubtful. Tomorrow you may feel confident. Today you may feel lost. Tomorrow you may feel focused. Imagine making a permanent decision based on a feeling that was only scheduled to stay for a few hours. That's like demolishing a house because the lights flickered. It's like abandoning a journey because of one wrong turn. It's reacting to a passing cloud as if the sun disappeared forever. Your emotions don't always tell you the truth about your future. They tell you the truth about your current state. Feeling like a failure doesn't mean you are one. Feeling hopeless doesn't mean hope is gone. Feeling incapable doesn't mean you lack ability. It just means your mind is tired, your spirit is strained, or your patience is tested. Feelings describe your state, not your destiny. And when you confuse the two, you start making permanent decisions based on temporary conditions. Strength is the ability to feel something deeply and still wait before acting. Anybody can react instantly. Anybody can slam a door, send a message, quit a job, walk away from a goal. But it takes maturity to pause. It takes wisdom to say, I feel this, but I'm not deciding yet. That pause is not weakness. That pause is power. It's the moment you take control back from your emotions and give it to your purpose. You have to remind yourself that emotions are temporary visitors. They arrive unannounced. They stay for a while when they leave. You don't redesign your entire life for a visitor. You don't rebuild your future because of a mood. You acknowledge the feeling. You learn from it, but you don't let it redesign your destiny. Because destiny requires vision, and vision requires clarity, and clarity requires calm. Most mistakes in life aren't made because people are incapable. They're made because people are emotional. Decisions made in anger often create damage. Decisions made in fear often create limitation. Decisions made in sadness often create isolation. But decisions made in clarity create progress. So when emotion rises, that is your signal not to act faster, but to slow down. Speed is dangerous when direction is unclear. There's a reason time changes how you see things. Give yourself a day and your perspective shifts. Give yourself a week and your emotions soften. Give yourself a month and what once felt overwhelming feels manageable. Time doesn't just pass, it reveals. It reveals which feelings were temporary and which truths are lasting. If you make a permanent decision too quickly, you rob time of its ability to show you what's real. You are stronger than any feeling that passes through you. You have survived sadness before. You have outlasted fear before. You have overcome doubt before. Every emotion ever told you this is the end was eventually proven wrong. Why? Because emotions speak in extreme. They say always and never. They say forever and impossible. But reality lives in balance, not extremes. Reality says, this is hard, but it can change. This hurts, but it can heal. This is tough, but you can grow. Permanent decisions should come from permanent values, not temporary emotion. Values stay, purpose stays, vision stays. Feelings don't. So when it's time to choose your direction, listen to what is stable inside you, not what is loud inside you. Loud doesn't mean right. Intense doesn't mean true. Urgent doesn't mean important. Sometimes the wisest decision you can make is no decision at all until your emotions settle and your mind clears. One day you'll look back and be grateful you didn't quit when you felt like quitting. Grateful you didn't speak when you felt like shouting. Grateful you didn't walk away when you felt like running. Because those moments, those emotional storms were tests, not tests of your talent, but tests of your patience. Not tests of your ability, but tests of your discipline. And every time you refuse to let a temporary feeling control a permanent choice, you pass. So when emotion rises inside you, don't panic, don't rush, don't decide. Breathe, observe, wait. Let the storm speak, but don't hand it the steering wheel. Let it pass through, but don't let it take over. Because feelings are temporary visitors, and visitors should never be allowed to rearrange the furniture of your destiny. Calm minds make powerful moves, and that truth separates those who merely react from those who truly rise. In a world full of noise, pressure, opinions, and urgency, most people believe power looks loud. They think power is shouting, rushing, forcing, proving, and pushing nonstop. But real power rarely looks frantic. Real power is composed. Real power is controlled. Because when your mind is calm, your vision is clear. And when your vision is clear, your decisions become precise. Precision is where progress lives. A calm mind doesn't mean a silent life. It doesn't mean you have no problems, no stress, or no challenges. It means that even when chaos is happening around you, there is order within you. It means you refuse to let pressure dictate your pace. Pressure tries to speed you up. Panic tries to cloud your thinking. Fear tries to shrink your perspective. But calmness protects your clarity. Calmness keeps your focus sharp. Calmness allows you to see options that panic would hide. Think about the moments when people make their worst decision. It's rarely when they're calm. It's when they're angry, rushed, afraid, or overwhelmed. Emotion speeds them up, and speed without direction leads to mistakes. But when your mind is calm, time seems to slow down. You notice details. You consider consequences. You weigh choices. That stillness inside you becomes your advantage. While everyone else is reacting, you're analyzing. While everyone else is panicking, you're preparing. and preparation always beats panic. A calm mind is not something you're born with, it's something you build. It's trained the same way muscles are trained. Every time you choose patience over impulse, you strengthen it. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen it. Every time you breathe instead of bursting, you strengthen it. Calmness is a discipline. It's the result of repeated decision to stay grounded when everything inside you wants to explode. People often confuse calmness with weakness because they think strength must be aggressive. But the strongest presence in any room is usually the most composed one. The person who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. The person who doesn't rush to prove themselves. The person who can listen while others argue. That kind of calm isn't passive. It's controlled intensity. It's power that doesn't need to show off. It's confidence that doesn't need applause. When your mind is calm, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. Distractions lose their grip. Petty arguments lose their appeal. Negativity loses its influence. You begin to recognize what deserves your attention and what doesn't. That awareness is a superpower because your energy is limited, and where you invest it determines what you build. A scattered mind scatters results. A steady mind multiplies them. Calmness also sharpens your instincts. When your thoughts aren't racing, you can actually hear your intuition. That quiet voice inside you that says, wait, or go, or not yet. Panic drowns that voice out. Anxiety silences it, but calmness amplifies it. And that inner guidance often sees things logic alone cannot. It notices patterns, it senses timing, it recognizes truth. That's why powerful moves often come from still minds. Because stillness creates awareness and awareness creates accuracy. There will be moments when life tries to steal your calm. Situations that provoke you, people who test you, circumstances that pressure you. Those moments are not interruptions. They are opportunities. Opportunities to prove that your inner stability is stronger than outer chaos. Anyone can stay calm when nothing's wrong. The real test is whether you can stay centered when everything feels uncertain. That's when calmness becomes courage. A calm mind also protects you from regret. Words spoken in anger can't be taken back. Decisions made in panic can't always be undone. Actions taken in frustration can leave marks that last longer than the emotion that caused them. But calmness plays a filter between feeling and action. It gives you space to choose wisely. It gives you time to respond intentionally. That space is priceless because in that space, you don't just act, you lead yourself. Leadership, even over your own life, requires composure. You cannot lead your future if your emotions lead you. You cannot direct your path if your thoughts are scattered. Direction demands clarity, and clarity demands calm. That's why the most effective individuals protect their peace like it's treasure. They guard their mindset. They monitor what they allow into their thoughts. They step away from chaos when necessary. Not because they're avoiding life, but because they're preparing to face it stronger. Calmness is not the absence of intensity. It is intensity under control. A storm contained inside a bottle is still powerful, but it's direct. When your mind is calm, your energy becomes focused instead of frantic. Focused energy is unstoppable. It doesn't leak into worry. It doesn't scatter into doubt. It doesn't explode into anger. It channels itself into action, into strategy, into persistence. That's why calm minds don't just make moves. They make powerful ones. The world often rewards speed, but success rewards precision. And precision requires patience. When you rush, you overlook. When you panic, you misjudge. When you react, you surrender control. But when you stay calm, you see clearly, you think deeply, you move deliberately. Deliberate movement may look slower at first, but it travels farther because it wastes less motion correcting mistakes. Calmness is efficiency of thought. There's also a quiet confidence that comes from a calm mind. Not arrogance, not pride, confidence. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself every second. The kind that trusts its preparation. The kind that knows storms pass. When you're calm, you stop fearing challenges because you know you can face them steadily. You stop fearing pressure because you know pressure can't shake your foundation. That confidence becomes magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities respond to it. Life shifts around it. Training your mind to be calm doesn't mean life stops testing you. It means tests stop controlling you. Problems will still appear. Obstacles will still rise. Unexpected situations will still happen. But instead of shaking you, they sharpen you. Instead of overwhelming you, they awaken you. Because a calm mind doesn't see problems as threats. It sees them as puzzles, and puzzles are meant to be solved, not feared. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, wind roaring, thunder crashing, rain pouring, yet inside you there's stillness. Not because the storm is weak, but because your center is strong. That's what it means to have a calm mind. It's not about controlling the storm, it's about controlling yourself within it. And once you master that, storms lose their intimidation. They become just another environment you can navigate. Powerful moves are not accidents. They are calculated steps taken by people who refuse to let chaos dictate their choices. They come from minds that think before acting, observe before speaking, and understand before deciding. They come from individuals who know that the quieter their thoughts, the louder their results. So protect your calm like it's your greatest weapon. Feed it with patience. Strengthen it with discipline. Guard it from unnecessary noise. Because the calmer you become, the clearer you think. The clearer you think, the better you decide. The better you decide, the stronger you move. And when your moves are strong, consistent, intentional, nothing in this world can easily stop your progress. Calm is not the absence of power. Calm is power refined. Anger is one of the most misunderstood forces inside a human being. Most people are taught to fear it, hide it, or deny it as if anger itself is the enemy. But anger is not your enemy. Anger is energy. Raw, intense, blazing energy by itself is never the problem. One of the vitamin's direction. When anger is unmanaged, it destroys. When anger is mastered, it drives. The same fire that burns a forest can also power an engine. The same emotion that ruins a life can also build a legacy. The difference is not in the anger. The difference is not in the anger. The difference is in the person holding it. You have felt anger before. Everyone has. You felt it when you were underestimated. You felt it when someone doubted you. You felt it when life felt unfair, when effort didn't match results, when doors closed in your face. That heat rising in your chest, that tension in your jaw, that surge in your veins, that is not weakness, that is power showing up. But power without guidance becomes destruction. That's why unmanaged anger lashes out, breaks things, says words that can't be taken back, and leaves regret standing where satisfaction was supposed to be. Most people let anger control them because they never learned how to control it. They react the moment it appears. They let it speak before wisdom has a chance. They let it act before purpose can guide it. And once anger takes control, it doesn't build, it burns. It burns relationships. It burns opportunity. It burns trust. It burns peace. But anger doesn't have to burn. It can build if you train it. Managing anger does not mean suppressing it. Suppression is not control. Suppression is pressure. And pressure that keeps building without release eventually explodes. Real mastery is not pretending you don't feel angry. Real mastery is feeling it fully and choosing what to do with it. It's standing in that emotional fire and saying, I will not let this consume me. I will use this. That shift from reacting to directing is where transformation begins. Anger can become motivation when you stop asking, why do I feel this, and start asking, why can I use this? That question changes everything because anger is intense and intensity is fuel. If you aim it at revenge, it poisons you. If you aim it at proving others wrong, it exhausts you. But if you aim it at growth, it empowers you. Directed anger becomes determination. Controlled anger becomes discipline. Focused anger becomes force. There is a reason some of the most driven individuals you'll ever meet have a story filled with moments that once made them angry. They were told they weren't good enough. They were overlooked. They were dismissed. They were doubted. Those experiences could have made them bitter. Instead, they made them better. They didn't waste their anger arguing. They invested it in improving. They didn't spend their energy complaining. They spent it building. That's what happens when anger is managed instead of unleashed. Think about what anger actually is. At its core, anger is a signal. It tells you something matters to you. You don't get angry about things you don't care about. You don't feel that fire over something meaningless. Anger reveals your values. It reveals your standards. It reveals your passion. It reveals your passion. So instead of seeing anger as something negative, see it as information. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What standard feels violated? What expectation feels broken? What desire feels blocked? Once you understand the message, you can transform the emotion into motion. In the motion is the key. Anger Anger that sits still turns toxic. Anger that moves becomes productive. When you feel that surge, channel it into action that improves you. Work harder, train longer, study deeper, focus sharper. Let that fire push you forward instead of pushing you into chaos. Because anger used for progress is unstoppable energy. It doesn't slow you down, it accelerates you. But directing anger requires discipline. It requires a pause between feeling and action. That pause is where control lives. Without that pause, anger becomes reaction. With that pause, anger becomes strategy. In that space, you can choose your response instead of surrendering to impulse. And that choice is power, real power, not loud power, not explosive power, quiet, steady, unstoppable power. Some people think calmness is the opposite of anger. It's not. Calmness is anger under control. It's emotion guided by purpose. It's fire placed inside an engine instead of thrown into a crowd. When you master that, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Not dangerous to people, but dangerous to limitations. Obstacles stop intimidating you. Criticism stops discouraging you. Doubt stops weakening you. Because every time something tries to hold you back, it adds fuel to your drive. There will be moments when anger tries to trick you. It will whisper that revenge is the answer. It will suggest that proving someone wrong is more important than proving yourself right. It will tempt you to waste energy fighting battles that don't move your life forward. That is unmanaged anger trying to lead you. But you must be the leader. You must remind yourself that your mission is bigger than your emotions. Your purpose is greater than your pride. Your future is more valuable than your reaction. When anger is managed, it becomes a silent force pushing you toward excellence. You stop talking about what upset you and start working toward what will elevate you. You stop replaying the insult and start rewriting your story. You stop focusing on who doubted you and start focusing on who you are becoming. That shift is powerful because attention is fuel, and whatever you focus on grows. If you focus on the offense, your anger grows. If you focus on improvement, your progress grows. Managed anger is patient. It doesn't demand immediate release. It understands timing. It understands that real success is the best response to doubt. It understands that results speak louder than reactions. It understands that silence combined with progress is louder than shouting combined with excuses. When you reach that level, anger stops being a problem and starts being a partner. It becomes the spark that lights your discipline every morning. The force that keeps you going when you feel tired. The intensity that reminds you why you started. Inside you right now is anger from something, maybe from being underestimated, maybe from being overlooked, maybe from being told you couldn't, maybe from life not going the way you planned. That anger is not there to destroy you. It's there to wake you up. It's there to push you. It's there to remind you that you care deeply about your life and your direction. Don't waste that fire. Aim it. Aim it at your growth. Aim it at your goals. Aim it at your discipline. Let it push you to become stronger, wiser, sharper, and more focused. Let it remind you that you refuse to stay average. Let it energize your effort. Because when anger is managed, it becomes a relentless engine. It keeps moving. It keeps driving. It keeps pushing until progress happens. One day you'll look back at the things that once made you angry and realize they were fuel all along. The criticism was fuel. The rejection was fuel. The setbacks were fuel. The doubt was fuel. None of it was there to stop you. It was all there to strengthen you. And you'll understand something that changes the way you see every challenge from that moment forward. Anger was never meant to control you. It was meant to propel you. Fear is one of the most powerful forces living inside you. It's ancient, instinctive, immediate, and intense. It can make your heart race, your thoughts scatter, your hands shake, and your confidence shrink. For most people, fear feels like a stop sign. It feels like a warning that says, don't go there. Don't try that. Don't risk this. And because it feels so strong, so convincing, so urgent, they obey. They slow down. They step back. They stay where they are. But fear was never meant to be your prison. Fear was meant to be your fuel. Understand this clearly. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is information. Fear is energy. Fear is a signal that you are standing at the edge of growth. You don't feel fear when you're doing something easy. You don't feel fear when you're repeating what you've already mastered. You feel fear when you're stepping into something bigger than your comfort zone. That means fear is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that something important is happening. It's proof that you are near a breakthrough, near expansion, near transformation. The problem is not fear itself. The problem is uncontrolled fear. Uncontrolled fear paralyzes. It magnifies doubt. It whispers worst-case scenarios. It paints failure in vivid colors and success in faint pencil lines. It convinces you that risk is danger and comfort is safety. But comfort has never built greatness. Comfort has never changed a life. Comfort has never written history. Growth lives outside comfort, and fear is the gatekeeper standing at that border. If you don't learn to control fear, you'll spend your life standing at the gate instead of walking through it. When fear is uncontrolled, it drains your energy. It turns your imagination against you. It makes you rehearse failure before you even begin. It makes you question your ability, your worth, your preparation. It turns possibilities into problems and opportunities into obstacles. But when fear is controlled, something incredible happens. That same energy that once weakened you begins to strengthen you. That same intensity that once froze you begins to drive you. Controlled fear doesn't disappear. It transforms. Fear and excitement feel almost identical in your body. Your pulse rises, your senses sharpen, your awareness increases, your system wakes up. The only difference is the meaning you attach to the sensation. If you label it danger, you shrink. If you label it readiness, you rise. Controlled fear is simply fear that has been given a new assignment. Instead of being your warning signal, it becomes your ignition switch. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most alive. Not the most comfortable, not the most relaxed, the most alive. Chances are those moments included fear. The first time you tried something bold. The first time you spoke up. The first time you took a risk. The first time you stepped into the unknown. Fear was there, but so was energy. So was focus. So was awareness. Fear sharpened you. It woke you up. It made you present. That's because fear, when directed, heightens performance. It pulls your attention into the moment and forces you to engage fully. Controlled fear turns hesitation into preparation. Instead of asking, oh, what if I fail? You begin asking, how can I improve? Instead of imagining everything going wrong, you start planning how to make things go right. Fear becomes a coach instead of a critic. It points out where you need practice. It shows you where you need growth. It highlights the skills you must sharpen. In that way, fear becomes guidance. It reveals the path to progress. Most people run from fear. They avoid it, distract themselves from it, or deny it. But avoidance feeds fear. Every time you run from it, you teach your mind that fear is stronger than you. Every time you face it, you teach your mind that you are stronger than fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of it. The brave are not fearless. They are disciplined enough to move forward while fear is still speaking. There is power in feeling fear and moving anyway. That decision rewires your identity. It tells your mind, I am someone who acts even when I'm uncomfortable. And once your identity shifts, your behavior follows. The more you act despite fear, the less control fear has over you. It doesn't vanish, but it loses authority. It becomes background noise instead of a command. Controlled fear sharpens focus like nothing else can. When you know something matters, when you know something is at stake, your mind locks in. Distractions fade. Irrelevant thoughts disappear. Your attention becomes precise. That precision is a weapon. It allows you to perform at levels you couldn't reach in a relaxed state. Athletes feel it before competition. Speakers feel it before stepping on stage. Leaders feel it before making major decisions. That sensation is in weakness. It's readiness gathering inside them. Fear is also a revealer. It shows you what you truly care about. You don't fear things that mean nothing to you. You fear what matters. You fear what's important. You fear what can change your life. So when fear shows up, don't just ask how to eliminate it. Ask what is revealing. Ask why it matters. Ask what opportunity is hiding behind it. Because often the very thing you fear most is the thing that holds your next level. Controlled fear becomes fuel when you harness its energy and direct it toward action. Action is the key. Fear sitting still becomes anxiety. Fear emotion becomes momentum. When you move, fear has somewhere to go. It turns into effort. It turns into focus. It turns into determination. But when you freeze, fear has nowhere to go, so it turns inward and becomes worry. Movement transforms fear's chemistry. Progress converts tension into power. You must train yourself to pause when fear appears, not to retreat. but to redirect. That pause is where control is born. In that moment, you acknowledge the fear without surrendering to it. You feel it without obeying it. You hear it without following it. And then you choose your response. That choice is everything, because fear may arrive automatically, but what you do next is always up to you. Controlled fear also builds resilience. Every time you face something that scares you, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. That proof becomes confidence. Not loud confidence, not arrogant confidence. Quiet, unshakable confidence, the kind that says, I felt fear before and I moved anyway. I can do it again. That confidence is earned, not given. It's built through repeated encounters with fear that you refuse to let defeat you. There will be moments when fear feels overwhelming, moments when it feels bigger than you, moments when it feels like it's shouting louder than your dreams. In those moments, remember this: fear is loud, but it is not always right. Fear exaggerates, fear assumes. Fear predicts disasters that often never happen. It speaks in worst-case scenarios because its job is to protect, not to propel. Protection is useful, but too much protection becomes limitation. That's why you must balance fear with purpose. Purpose gives direction to the energy fear provides. When purpose leads and fear fuels, you become unstoppable. Purpose tells you where to go. Fear provides the intensity to get there. Purpose gives you vision. Fear gives you alertness. Purpose sets the destination. Fear fills the tank. Together, they form a powerful force that drives you forward with both clarity and urgency. Think of fear as a wild horse. Untamed, it throws you off. It runs uncontrollably. It drags you through chaos. But trained, that same horse becomes transportation. It carries you faster and farther than you could ever travel on foot. Fear is like that. Untamed, it controls you. Trained, it carries you. The goal is not to kill fear. The goal is to ride it. Every great leap in your life will come with fear attached. New beginnings bring fear. Big decisions bring fear. Bold moves bring fear. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Fear accompanies growth the way shadows accompany light. If you wait until you feel no fear, you will wait forever. Progress belongs to those who move while fear is present. Inside you right now is untapped power, disguised as fear. Power to grow, power to act, power to become. That sensation you sometimes wish would disappear is actually potential waiting for direction. Once you realize that, your relationship with fear changes. You stop seeing it as a barrier and start seeing it as a signal that you are close to something meaningful, a signal that you are stepping beyond average, a signal that you are about to evolve. So don't run from fear. Don't silence it. Don't curse it. Study it, face it, guide it. Because fear control turns into fuel, and fuel, when ignited, creates motion. Motion creates progress. Progress creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. And momentum, once it builds, becomes a force that nothing easily stops. One day you will look back at the fears that once intimidated you and realize they were invitations. Invitations to grow stronger. Invitations to think bigger. Invitations to step into a version of yourself you had never met before. And you'll be grateful you didn't run. Grateful you didn't hide. Grateful you didn't quit. Because the very thing that once scared you will have become the very thing that carried you forward. Silence is often mistaken for weakness by a world addicted to noise. People think power must be loud, visible, dramatic, and explosive. They believe the strongest person is the one who shouts the hardest, argues the fastest, and reacts the quickest. But real strength doesn't rush to prove itself. Real strength doesn't need to raise his voice to be felt. Real strength stands calm, steady, and controlled, even when emotions are trying to erupt like a storm inside. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is restraint. Silence is discipline. Silence is power waiting for the right moment to move. Emotional outbursts feel strong in the moment because they release pressure. They give the illusion of control. When anger rises, shouting feels powerful. When frustration builds, reacting feels justified. When pride is hurt, responding instantly feels necessary. But what feels powerful in the moment often turns into weakness afterward. Words spoken in emotional heat cannot be pulled back. Actions taken in emotional storms cannot always be undone. The relief is temporary, but the consequences can be permanent. Silence, on the other hand, may feel difficult at first, but it protects you from decisions you will regret and reactions that could cost you more than they satisfy. There is a hidden authority in someone who can stay quiet while others lose control. It unsettles people. It confuses them. It makes them wonder why you're not reacting. Because most people expect noise. They expect retaliation. They expect instant response. When you give them silence instead, you shift the balance of power. You show that your emotions don't command you. You show that your impulses don't own you. You show that you decide when and how you respond. That kind of control is rare, and rarity always carries influence. Silence is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about mastering it. There's a difference. Suppression hides emotion. Mastery directs it. When you choose silence, you're not pretending. You don't feel anger, disappointment, or frustration. You're acknowledging it without letting it take the wheel. You're allowing yourself time to understand what you feel instead of blindly acting on it. That pause, that space between feeling and response is where wisdom lives. Emotional outbursts skip that space. Silence protects it. Think about the strongest leaders, the most respected figure, the individuals whose presence alone commands attention. They don't rush to speak. They don't interrupt to speak. They don't interrupt. They don't explode. They listen. They observe. They think. And when they finally speak, their words carry weight because they were not wasted. Silence makes your words valuable. If you speak constantly, your voice becomes background noise. But when you speak selectively, people lean in to listen. Your restraint gives your voice authority. Emotional outbursts scatter your energy. They send it in every direction at once. Anger pulls it one way, pride pulls it another. Fear pulls it somewhere. You become divided within yourself. Silence gathers your energy. It collects it. It focuses it. It concentrates it into something sharp and intentional. Focused energy is powerful. Scattered energy is weak. Silence turns chaos into clarity and reaction into strategy. There will be moments when silence feels impossible. Moments when someone pushes your buttons, challenges your pride, questions your worth, or misunderstands your intention. Your emotions will urge you to react immediately. They will tell you that if you don't respond now, you're losing. But silence reminds you that not every battle deserves your voice. Not every comment deserves your attention. Not every challenge deserves your reaction. Some things shrink the moment you refuse to feed them with your energy. Silence is also a shield. When you react emotionally, you reveal your vulnerabilities. You show exactly what affects you, what triggers you, what controls you. People can use that information. But when you remain silent, you protect your inner world. You keep your emotions private until you decide how to express them. That privacy is strength. It keeps others from steering your mood or manipulating your reactions. Silence keeps your power in your own hands. There is wisdom in waiting. Words spoken too quickly often come from emotion, not understanding. But when you stay silent, you give yourself time to see clearly. You notice details you would have missed. You hear things you would have ignored. You understand perspectives you would have dismissed. Silence sharpens perception. It allows you to gather information before you act. And the more information you have, the better your decisions become. Emotional outbursts may win moments, but silence wins outcomes. A loud reaction might make you feel victorious for a second, but it can close doors you needed open. It can damage relationships you needed strong. It can create problems you didn't need. Silence, though quieter, is often more effective. It gives you room to choose the right response instead of the fast response. And the right response always outperforms the fast one. Silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is the art of choosing timing over impulse. Timing matters in everything. A word spoken at the right moment can change a life. The same word spoken at the wrong moment can create conflict. Silence lets you wait for the right moment. It lets you speak when your message will be heard instead of when your emotions demand release. There is also strength in knowing that you don't have to respond to everything. Not every opinion deserves your defense. Not every criticism deserves your explanation. Not every misunderstanding deserves your correction. Some things resolve themselves when you leave them alone. Silence gives truth time to reveal itself. Lies need noise to survive. Truth can stand quietly and still remain strong. When you practice silence, you train your discipline. You prove to yourself that you are not controlled by your impulses, that self-trust builds confidence, quiet confidence The kind that doesn't need applause or validation. The kind that knows its worth without announcing it. Emotional outbursts often come from insecurity, from the need to prove, defend, or justify. Silence often comes from certainty, from knowing that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Silence also protects your peace. Arguments drain you. Conflict exhausts you. Emotional reactions steal your focus and scatter your thoughts. But when you choose silence, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. You stop wasting strength on temporary distractions. You save it for your goals, your growth, your purpose. Peace is not something you find. It's something you protect. Silence is one of the strongest forms of protection. This doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak with intention. When you finally respond, your words are measured, clear, and purposeful. They come from thought, not impulse. They build instead of break. They solve instead of inflame. People respect that kind of speech because they sense the control behind it. They sense the discipline, they sense the strength it took to remain silent until the right moment arrived. Silence teaches patience, and patience multiplies power. A patient mind sees opportunities others miss. A patient mind avoids mistakes others rush into. A patient mind stays steady while others panic. Silence is the training ground for that patience. Every time you choose not to react instantly, you strengthen your ability to stay composed under pressure. That composure becomes your advantage in moments when others lose theirs. There is something unshakable about a person who has mastered silence. They don't get pulled into every argument. They don't get provoked by every insult. They don't get distracted by every opinion. They stand firm, rooted in self-control, and that stability makes them hard to defeat, hard to manipulate, hard to break. Because you cannot easily defeat someone who refuses to lose control themselves. Emotional outbursts burn fast and fade quickly. Silence burns slow and lasts long. Outbursts are sparks. Silence is a steady flame. Sparks can be bright, but they disappear in seconds. A steady flame can light an entire path. When you choose silence over reaction, you choose endurance over impulse. You choose long-term strength over short-term release. Life will test you again and again. It will place you in situations designed to provoke you. People will misunderstand you. Circumstances will frustrate you. Pressure will challenge you. In those moments, you will feel the urge to react. But that is your opportunity to practice real strength. Not the strength of volume, but the strength of control. Not the strength of reaction, but the strength of restraint. The more you practice silence, the more powerful it becomes. At first, it feels difficult, like holding back a storm. Then it feels manageable, like guiding a current. Eventually, it feels natural, like breathing. And when it becomes natural, you reach a level of emotional mastery that most people never experience. You become someone who chooses responses instead of being ruled by reactions. One day you will realize that the moments you stayed silent were the moments you were strongest. The times you didn't argue were the times you won. The times you didn't explode were the times you grew. Because silence was never emptiness. It was strength in its purest form. It was discipline holding the line. It was wisdom waiting its turn. It was power perfectly controlled. Your mood is one of the most powerful forces shaping your life, yet most people treat it like it's something that just happens to them. They wake up and say, I'm in a bad mood, as if that mood dropped out of the sky and landed on their shoulders without permission. They walk through their day blaming circumstances, people, weather, traffic, and memories for how they feel, never realizing that while they may not always control what appears in their mind, they absolutely control what stays there. Mood is not just a feeling, it is a direction, it is a lens, it is a filter through which you interpret the world. And if you don't master it, it will quietly, consistently, and powerfully master you. A mood is not a fact, it is a state, and states change. But when you don't understand that, you start treating temporary emotional weather like permanent climate. You start believing that because you feel unmotivated, you are incapable. Because you feel tired, you are weak. Because you feel discouraged, you are defeated. But moods are messengers, not judges. They report what's happening inside you, not what's possible for you. The danger begins when you confuse the message with the verdict. The moment you accept your mood as your authority, you hand over control of your actions, your decision, and your direction, your decision, and your direction. Most people don't realize how much power a mood has over their behavior. A bad mood can cancel discipline. It can silence confidence. It can shrink ambition. It can turn a small obstacle into a massive wall. But a strong mood can do the opposite. A focused mood can sharpen your thinking. A determined mood can multiply your effort. A positive mood can expand your creativity. The difference between progress and stagnation often has less to do with skill and more to do with state. Skill determines what you can do. Mood determines whether you will do it. If you wait until you feel good to take action, you will spend most of your life waiting. Because moods are unreliable. They rise and fall like tides. They shift like wind. They change without warning. One moment you feel unstoppable, the next you feel uncertain. One morning you feel driven, by evening you feel drained. If your life is built on moods, your consistency will collapse every time your emotions fluctuate. But when you master your mood, something powerful happens. Your actions stop depending on how you feel and start depending on who you've decided to be. Mastery of mood begins with awareness. You must notice what you're feeling before you can guide it. Most people never pause long enough to check in with themselves. They just react. They feel irritated and snap. They feel bored and quit. They feel doubtful and stop trying. Awareness creates a gap between feeling and reacting, and in that gap lies your freedom. Because once you see your mood clearly, you realize you have options. You can feed it, or you can shift it. You can follow it, or you can lead it. Your mind is like a garden, and your mood is the result of what grows there. If you plant worry, you harvest anxiety. If you plant gratitude, you harvest peace. If you plant comparison, you harvest insecurity. If you plant purpose, you harvest motivation. The thoughts you allow to stay in your mind determine the emotional atmosphere you live in. That means your mood is not random. It is cultivated. It is shaped by what you focus on, what you repeat to yourself, and what you choose to believe. When you understand that, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of your mood and start seeing yourself as its architect. Mastering your mood does not mean you never feel negative emotions. It means you refuse to let them rule you. There will be days when sadness shows up, when frustration knocks, when doubt whispers. Those feelings are part of being human, but they don't have to be the leaders of your life. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. You can feel them without becoming them. You can experience them without surrendering to them. That is emotional authority. That is inner leadership. When you don't master your mood masters your schedule. You only work when you feel like it. You only try when you feel confident. You only persist when you feel motivated. But feelings are inconsistent, and inconsistency destroys progress. Mastery means you move even when you don't feel like moving. You focus even when you don't feel like focusing. You continue even when you don't feel like continuing. Even when you don't feel like continuing. That is the moment you stop being controlled by your emotional climate and start creating your own. Your mood also shapes how you see challenges. In a negative state, problems look bigger than they are. Obstacles look impossible. Effort looks pointless. But in a strong state, those same challenges look different. They look like puzzles instead of threats. They look like tests instead of punishments. They look like chances instead of barriers. The situation didn't change. Your state did. That's how powerful mood is. It doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects what you see. One of the greatest disciplines you can develop is the ability to shift your mood intentionally. Instead of waiting for circumstances to change your feeling, you change your focus. You move your body. You adjust your breathing. You redirect your thoughts. You remind yourself of your purpose. You step away from negativity. These are not small actions. They are acts of leadership over your own mind. Each time you shift your mood on purpose, you strengthen your authority over yourself. And self-authority is the foundation of every other kind of success. Your mood is contagious, not only to others, but to your future. The state you choose today influences the results you create tomorrow. A discouraged mood delays effort. Delayed effort delays progress. Delayed progress delays success. But a determined mood accelerates action. Accelerated action accelerates growth. Accelerated growth accelerates achievement. That's why mastering your mood is not just about feeling better. It's about living better. It's about performing better. And by performing better, it's about becoming better. Emotional mastery begins with awareness. You must first notice what is happening inside you. You must name the feeling. You must recognize the triggers, the sensations, the thoughts that accompany it. This awareness creates the first gap, the first pause, the first chance to act differently than the automatic reaction that has controlled you in the past. Awareness is not passive, it is active. It's the first step in reclaiming authority over your inner world. Without awareness, you are a ship adrift in a storm, tossed and turned by every wave of feeling. With awareness, you can begin to steer. You can begin to chart a course toward the destination you choose, not the one your emotions dictate. Once awareness is present, the next step is acceptance. The next step is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means acknowledging what you feel without judgment. It means saying, I see this emotion. I feel it. I recognize it. And now I will choose how to respond. Emotions are data. They are signals. They are information about what matters to you, what threatens you, what excites you, what needs attention. But they are not the boss. They are not the final authority. When you accept them without being controlled by them, you create a powerful internal space where choice becomes possible and freedom becomes real. And now, as we draw near to the close of this journey through understanding emotional control, it's important to realize that mastering your emotions is not a single act. It is a lifestyle, a daily commitment, a constant practice. The world will continue to challenge you. Circumstances will continue to test you. People will continue to provoke you. Situations will continue to frustrate you. And every day, every moment, you will have a choice. Will you let your emotions dictate your actions, or will you decide that your purpose, your vision, your goals, your higher self will remain in control? The path to mastery is not easy. It never was. If it were easy, everyone would be masters of their emotions. But the very fact that it's challenging is what makes it valuable. Because the ability to remain steady, composed, and focused when everything around you seems chaotic is the ultimate sign of strength and is the ultimate advantage in life. Consider for a moment how many people give away their power every single day simply because they allow the feeling to take control. Anger makes them say something they regret. Fear makes them avoid an opportunity that could change their life. Frustration makes them quit before the breakthrough arrives. Disappointment makes them settle for less than they deserve. Envy makes them resent someone else's progress instead of fueling their own. In each of these moments, the mind and the emotions conspire to pull them off course, and the person follows blindly, thinking they had no choice. But here's the truth. There is always a choice. There's always a space between feeling and action. There's always the moment where you can pause, breathe, assess, and decide how you will respond. And in that moment lies your power, your freedom, your control. Many people underestimate how much their environment influences their mood. The conversations you listen to, the content you consume, the people you spend time with, the words you repeat to yourself, all of these shape your emotional state. If you surround yourself with negativity, your mood absorbs it. If you surround yourself with purpose, your mood reflects it. Mastery means you become selective about what you allow into your mental space. You guard your mindset the way a warrior guards a gate, because you understand that what enters your mind eventually influences your life. There will be moments when your mood tries to convince you to give up. It will say you're too tired, too late, too far behind, too unprepared. It will present excuses that sound reasonable. It will dress doubt and logic. But that is the test. That is the moment that determines whether you are led by mood or led by mission. When you choose to act in alignment with your purpose, instead of your feelings, you take back control. You prove to yourself that your direction is stronger than your emotion. Mastering your mood also builds resilience. Every time you refuse to let a negative state dictate your behavior, you become mentally tougher. You develop emotional endurance. You learn that feelings can be intense without being permanent. That knowledge changes how you respond to difficulty. Instead of panicking when a bad mood appears, you recognize it is temporary. Instead of surrendering to it, you steady yourself through it. That steadiness becomes your strength. There is a quiet confidence that grows inside someone who has learned to guide their mood. It's not loud or boastful. It's calm and certain. It knows that storms can come, but they won't last. It knows that feelings can shift, but purpose remains. It knows that emotions can fluctuate, but discipline stays. That confidence doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on self-trust. And self-trust is built every time you choose direction over impulse. If you don't master your mood will start making decisions for you. It will decide when you try, when you stop, when you speak, when you stay silent, when you believe, and when you doubt. And when your mood makes your decisions, your life becomes unpredictable. But when you master it, you become steady, reliable, focused. You stop being pushed around by internal waves and start steering your own course. The truth is simple but powerful. You cannot always control what you feel, but you can always control what you do with what you feel. That distinction changes everything because it means you are never powerless. It means you always have influence. It means your mood may knock on your door, but it does not have the authority to rearrange your life unless you invite it in. Every day gives you chances to practice this mastery. Small moments when irritation appears. Brief moments when doubt speaks. Quick moments when discouragement tries to settle. Those moments are training grounds. Each time you guide your response instead of surrendering to the feeling, you strengthen your emotional discipline. Over time, that discipline becomes natural. What once required effort becomes instinct. What once overwhelmed you becomes manageable. What once controlled you becomes something you control. Eventually, you reach a point where your mood no longer dictates your momentum. You wake up with purpose instead of waiting for motivation. You act with intention instead of reacting with impulse. You stay steady even when emotions fluctuate. And that is freedom. Real freedom is not the absence of difficult emotion. Real freedom is the ability to remain directed despite them. When you master your mood, you don't just change how you feel, you change how you live. You become someone who can be trusted with responsibility, with opportunity, with pressure. Because people who control their mood can control their actions, and people who control their actions can shape their destiny. At that level, your emotions stop being obstacles and start becoming tools. Tools you can use, guide and direct toward your goals. So remember this whenever your feelings try to lead you somewhere you don't truly want to go. Moods are powerful, but they are not in charge unless you let them be. They are visitors, not rulers. They are influences, not authorities. The moment you decide that your purpose matters more than your mood is the moment your life begins to change. Because mastery doesn't come from controlling the world outside you. It comes from controlling the world within you. And once you take command of that inner world, no passing emotion will ever be strong enough to command you again. Most people think greatness comes from talent, connections, or luck, but that's not true. Greatness is built on one foundation, and that foundation is emotional control. Because talent without control is chaos. Skill without discipline is wasted potential. Passion without stability is self-destruction. You can be the smartest, fastest, strongest, most gifted person in the room, but if you cannot manage your emotions will manage you. And when your emotions manage you, they don't guide you toward success. They push you toward reaction, toward impulse, toward decisions you regret. That's why emotional control isn't just a soft skill. It's the backbone of achievement. It's the silent force behind every calm decision, every wise response, every powerful comeback. Without it, pressure breaks you. With it, pressure builds you. You see, life doesn't test your talent first. Life tests your temperament. Before you ever get the reward, the recognition of the results, you get resistance, you get delays, you get rejection, you get disrespect. And in those moments, your emotions rise like a storm. Anger wants to speak. Fear wants to run. Doubt wants to quit. Pride wants to prove. But greatness is not found in what you feel. It's found in what you do with what you feel. Anyone can react. That's easy. Reaction is instinct. Reaction is automatic. Reaction is what happens when you let your feelings drive the wheel. But champions don't react. Champions respond. They pause, they breathe, they think, and then they act with purpose. That pause, that small space between feeling and action, that is where greatness lives. When you lack emotional control, every obstacle feels personal. Every criticism feels like an attack. Every delay feels like a denial. And when you take everything personally, you start fighting battles that don't matter. You waste energy proving people wrong instead of proving yourself right. You waste time defending your ego instead of developing your ability. But when you master your emotions, something powerful happens. You stop reacting to noise. You stop chasing validation. You stop letting small problems steer your focus. And when you reach that level, your mind becomes sharp, your vision becomes clear, and your path becomes steady. Emotional control doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous because now nothing can push your buttons unless you allow it. Think about the strongest people you've ever seen. They're not the loudest. They're not the most dramatic. They're not the ones exploding at every inconvenience. Strength isn't noise. Strength is composure. Strength is calm under pressure. Strength is the ability to stand in chaos and still think clearly. Anyone can stay positive when things go right. Anyone can stay calm when life is smooth. But can you stay grounded when everything shakes? Can you stay focused when everything distracts you? Can you stay disciplined when everything in you wants to quit? That's the real test. Because emotional storms are guaranteed. Stress will come. Frustration will come. Disappointment will come. And when they do, your success won't depend on the situation. It will depend on your stability. Your emotions are powerful energy. They are not enemies. Anger can be fuel. Fear can be awareness. Excitement can be drive. Sadness can be reflection. But only if you control them. If you don't control them, those same emotions become chains. Anger becomes destruction. Fear becomes paralysis. Excitement becomes recklessness. Sadness becomes hopelessness. The emotion itself is never the problem. The problem is lack of discipline over the emotion. That's why two people can face the same situation and walk away with completely different outcomes. One explodes, blames, and collapses. The other adapts, learns, and grows. Same challenge, different emotional control, different destiny. You must understand this truth. Your emotions are messengers, not commanders. They bring information, not instructions. Feeling angry doesn't mean you should attack. Feeling afraid doesn't mean you should stop. Feeling nervous doesn't mean you should run. It just means you're human. But greatness begins the moment you decide that your feelings don't get the final vote. You listen to them, you acknowledge them, but you don't surrender to them. Because the moment you surrender control of your emotions, you surrender control of your life. And when you surrender control of your life, you start living by circumstance instead of purpose. Discipline is emotional control in motion. It's waking up and working even when you don't feel like it. It's staying focused even when distractions call your name. It's staying patient even when results are slow. Discipline doesn't eliminate emotion. It trains it. It tells your feelings, you can come with me, but you can't leave me. And that mindset changes everything. Because now your motivation doesn't disappear when your mood changes. Now your consistency doesn't break when your feelings fluctuate. Now your progress doesn't stop just because your emotions get loud. That's the difference between people who start strong and people who finish strong. Starters rely on emotion. Finishers rely on discipline. Some people lose their future not because they lacked opportunity, but because they lacked emotional mastery. They spoke when they should have listened. They reacted when they should have paused. They quit when they should have endured. They let one bad moment define an entire journey. Don't let that be you. One bad day doesn't mean a bad life. One mistake doesn't mean failure. One criticism doesn't mean you're not capable. But if your emotions convince you that it does, you'll stop before your breakthrough ever arrives. Emotional control is what keeps you moving when everything inside you says, stop. The world is full of triggers. People will test you. Situations will frustrate you. Plans will fall apart. Expectations will collapse. And if you don't learn to control your emotions, every trigger will pull your focus away from your purpose. But when you master your emotions, triggers lose their power. Insults lose their sting. Delays lose their frustration. Pressure loses its, because now your peace isn't controlled by what happens around you. It's controlled by what happens within you. That's real power. Not controlling the world, but controlling yourself in the world. You don't need perfect circumstances to be great. You need emotional stability, because stability creates clarity, and clarity creates decisions, and decisions create results. When your mind is calm, your thinking is sharp. When your thinking is sharp, your actions are precise. And when your actions are precise, your progress becomes unstoppable. But when your emotions are wild, your thoughts become scattered. Scattered thoughts create careless decisions, and careless decisions create regret. So if you want a better future, don't just work on your skill. Work on your emotional strength. Every day is training. Every conversation is training. Every inconvenience is training. Life is constantly giving you chances to practice control. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Training. Someone doubts you. Training. Something doesn't go your way. Training. These moments aren't interruptions. They're opportunities. Opportunities to prove to yourself that you're stronger than your impulses, wiser than your anger, calmer than your stress. Because every time you choose control over reaction, you build power. And that power stacks. It grows, it compounds. Until one day you realize that things that used to shake, you don't even move you anymore. And when you reach that level, when you become the kind of person who stays steady under pressure, who stays focused under stress, who stays disciplined under emotion, something incredible happens. People trust you more. Opportunities come to you more. Respect surrounds you more. Not because you demanded it, but because your composure earned it. The world recognizes stability. The world rewards consistency. The world follows calm confidence. And calm confidence is born from emotional control. So don't pray for an easier life. Train for stronger emotions. Don't wish for fewer problems. Build greater stability. Don't ask for less pressure. Develop more control. Because greatness isn't given to the most talented, it's given to the most disciplined. And discipline begins the moment you decide that no emotion, no matter how strong, will ever be stronger than your purpose. When you reach that point, you stop being a person who reacts to life and you become a person who commands it. And once you command yourself, nothing outside of you can ever defeat you.